License and registration. You were doing 55 in a 40 zone.
I'm sorry, officer. I'm a trauma surgeon at Mercy Hospital. I'm responding to a code red.
Huh. A surgeon. Yeah, okay, sure you are.
Please, sir, a kid is dying. You can follow me to the ER and take me
Hand over
there.
the license. I'm not following you anywhere.
Officer, you have my ID. My credentials.
Officer Stevens had no idea what he just walked into. In the next 14 minutes, a 17-year-old boy will bleed to death on an operating table just 2 miles away. The man Stevens is mocking isn't just claiming to be a doctor. He is the chief of trauma surgery. He is the only person who can stop the bleeding. And the dashcam on Stevens' own patrol car was capturing every second. It was recording the mistake that would cost the city $7.8 million. Before I continue, let me ask you, have you ever been treated unfairly by someone in power just because of how you look? Drop your answer in the comments. Officer Stevens had no idea who he was keeping in that car. The driver was Dr. Michael Torres. He is the chief of trauma surgery at Mercy Hospital. He has spent 15 years fixing damaged hearts and broken veins. He even invented a new way to fix arteries quickly. Dr. Torres is double board certified. That means he is an expert twice over. On this specific night, he was the only surgeon in the entire county who knew how to do the surgery that the dying boy needed. It was actually his night off. Dr. Torres was at home eating dinner, but when his pager went off, he didn't hesitate. He knew the other doctors couldn't handle this specific injury. He got in his car and drove. He wasn't trying to show off. He wasn't trying to be special. He was just a man trying to save a life. On this Tuesday night, Dr. Torres wasn't just a driver speeding. He was a lifeline. He was racing against a clock that was running out of time. But wait, there is more to this story, because the man stopping him wasn't just doing his job. He was playing a game. Officer Craig Stevens had a bad reputation in this neighborhood. He had been on the police force for 8 years. He wrote more tickets than almost anyone else, but he did it in a mean way. He had 12 complaints against him in his file. Every single complaint was about his attitude. People said he liked to cause delays. He liked to make people wait just to show he was in charge. They called it a power trip. One time he stopped a woman who was in labor. She was about to have a baby. He held her there for 20 minutes because her car tag was expired. He eventually let her go with a warning, but only after scaring her. Another time, he threatened to arrest a firefighter. The firefighter had parked his own truck in a fire lane to run into a burning building. Stevens didn't care about the fire. He cared about the parking rule. Other officers had a nickname for him. They called him the Statue. They called him that because once he stopped you, you were frozen. You were not moving until he decided you could move. Stevens believed the law was more important than people. He thought rules were more important than common sense. But Stevens had never blocked a life-or-death timeline before. This was different, and he was about to learn a very hard lesson. Do you know someone who lets a little bit of power go to their head? Let me know in the comments below. It was Tuesday, November 14th. The time was exactly 8:42 p.m. Dr. Torres was driving on Route 9. It was a dark, 2-lane road. It was raining hard. The hospital was only 2 miles away. Inside the emergency room at Mercy Hospital, it was chaos. Nurses were running everywhere. A 17-year-old boy had been in a bad car crash. He was losing blood fast. The team was doing everything they could, but they needed a surgeon. They were watching the clock, waiting for Dr. Torres. Back on the road, Dr. Torres passed Officer Stevens. He was going 55 miles per hour. The speed limit was 40. He wasn't driving crazy. He had his hazard lights on. He was trying to be safe but fast. When he saw the blue lights behind him, he pulled over right away. He didn't try to run. He had his hospital ID ready. He had his pager in his hand. The pager was flashing strictly code red. Torres assumed showing his ID would be enough. He thought the officer would see the flashing pager and help him. He thought they were on the same team. He was wrong. That is when everything changed. If you want to see justice served in stories like this, hit that subscribe button. We are going to keep telling the truth about what happens on our streets. Dr. Torres held the pager out the window. Code red, pediatric trauma, he said. Look at the screen. Stevens didn't even look. License, he repeated. I need a police escort, Torres said. Help me get there safely. Stevens laughed. It was a cold sound. We aren't a taxi service, he said. Stevens took the license. He turned around. He walked back to his police cruiser very slowly. He was taking his time on purpose. Dr. Torres watched the seconds tick by on his dashboard clock. 1 minute, 2 minutes. He honked his horn lightly, just a short beep. Stevens stopped walking. He turned around. He looked angry. He marched back to the surgeon's car. Do that again, Stevens said, and I will drag you out of this car. Dr. Torres was shaking. He wasn't shaking because he was scared of the cop. He was shaking because he knew the boy at the hospital was running out of blood. He's bleeding out, Torres screamed. Let me go. Stay in the vehicle, Stevens said. He put his hand on his gun. Stevens went back to his car. The dashcam video shows what happened next. Stevens sat in his seat. He didn't call the hospital to check. He didn't run the license quickly. He picked up his phone. He checked the score of a basketball game. He texted his wife. He sat there for 5 full minutes doing nothing. Dr. Torres was trapped. If he drove away, he would be arrested. If he stayed, the boy might die. Please, Torres yelled from the window. The rain was soaking his face. Stevens turned up the radio in his police car to drown him out. Here is the sad truth. It is wrong to play games with someone's life just because you are angry. What Stevens didn't know was that at 8:52 p.m., the patient's heart stopped for the first time. Let me know what you think in the comments. Would you have driven away? 14 minutes passed, 14 agonizing minutes. Officer Stevens finally walked back to the car. He handed Dr. Torres a ticket. Slow down, Stevens said, or next time you go to jail. Dr. Torres didn't say a word. He didn't argue. He threw the ticket on the floor of his car. He slammed on the gas. He drove the last 2 miles in record time. He didn't care about the rain anymore. Dr. Torres sprinted into the emergency room doors at 9:02 p.m. He was still wearing his coat. He ran straight toward the trauma bay. The room was quiet, too quiet. The nurses were standing still. The other doctors were looking at the floor. Dr. Torres stopped. Where is he? He asked. Is he prepped? The head nurse looked at him. She had tears in her eyes. She shook her head. We lost him 3 minutes ago, doctor, she whispered. We couldn't stop the bleeding. Dr. Torres looked at the clock on the wall. The time of death was 8:59 p.m. If he had arrived 10 minutes earlier, he would have been there. He would have been scrubbing in. He could have clamped the artery. The boy died while Officer Stevens was checking basketball scores. Dr. Torres fell to the floor of the scrub room. He put his head in his hands. He knew the truth. With those 14 minutes back, the boy would be alive. The hospital administrator didn't wait. He picked up the phone at 9:15 p.m. He called the chief of police directly. Your officer just killed a patient, he said. Officer Stevens was finishing his shift. He was driving back to the station. He was thinking about going home. He had no idea he had just contributed to a death. He thought he just taught a speeder a lesson. By now, you are probably feeling angry. You should be. This wasn't an accident. This was a choice. Stevens chose to delay a doctor, and a teenager paid the price. Type justice in the comments if you think Officer Stevens needs to face consequences for this. The next morning, the police station was not quiet. Internal affairs officers were there. The district attorney was there too. They were waiting for Stevens when he walked in. Badge and gun, the chief said, on the desk, now. Stevens was confused. What is this about, the speeder last night? They didn't answer him. They took him into an interrogation room. They played the videos. They watched the dashcam footage. They watched the bodycam footage. They looked at the GPS data from his car. Stevens tried to tell his story, but his story fell apart immediately. He was aggressive, Stevens claimed. False, the investigator said. The video shows he was polite. He was begging you. I followed procedure, Stevens said. False, the investigator replied. It takes 4 minutes to write a ticket. You took 14. You were stalling. I didn't know it was an emergency, Stevens tried to say. The investigator paused the video. He pointed to the screen. Right there, you can see the pager. It says code red. You looked right at it. Stevens had no more excuses. The chief made the decision right then. Stevens was stripped of his badge. He was suspended immediately while they finished the investigation. Stevens was shocked. "You're ruining my career over a speeder?" he asked. He still didn't get it. "No," the chief said. "We are ruining your career because a boy is dead." That afternoon, the police had to do the hardest part. They went to the family of the teen. They had to explain why the surgeon was late. The family was grieving. They were heartbroken. But when they heard about the traffic stop, their sadness turned into rage. They didn't just want an apology. They wanted blood. But wait, the story gets even bigger. Someone at the station leaked the video. If you think bad officers should be exposed, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. We will keep bringing you these P-dates. By Tuesday night, the dashcam footage was on the internet. It spread like wildfire. By Wednesday morning, the hashtag Justice for the Teen was trending all over the world. People could not believe what they were seeing. They watched the officer check his phone while the doctor screamed for help. By Friday, there were protests outside the police precinct. Thousands of people showed up. They held signs that said, "Blue lights don't mean God." The video got 40 million views on X, the platform formerly known as Twitter. Doctors from all over the world started sharing their own stories. They posted about times police had stopped them on their way to emergencies. It turns out, this happens a lot. The news channels picked it up. CNN covered it. Fox News covered it. Everyone agreed on one thing: this was wrong. The mayor of the city had to go on TV. He was crying. He apologized to the family. He apologized to Dr. Torres. Officer Stevens tried to do damage control. He asked the police union to defend him. Usually, the union fights for every officer. But this time, the public anger was too high. The union looked at the video. They looked at the comments. They realized they couldn't win this one. They withdrew their support. Stevens was on his own. It is good to see people come together to demand what is right. This story was shared millions of times. Share this video if you think others should see what happened. 3 days later, the district attorney announced the charges, and Stevens wasn't laughing anymore. The legal hammer came down hard. First, there was the lawsuit. The family of the teen sued the city for wrongful death. Dr. Torres sued for wrongful interference. During the discovery phase, lawyers found Stevens' old records. They found all the times he had stalled other drivers. They found texts where he bragged about making important people wait. It was a pattern. It was proof that he did this for fun. The city knew they would lose in court. They decided to settle. The settlement was massive. The city agreed to pay $7.8 million. It was one of the largest payouts in state history. But money wasn't enough. Stevens had to lose more than just his job. He was fired, of course. He was also blacklisted. That means he can never work in law enforcement again, not in this state, not in any state. Then came the criminal charges. The district attorney charged Craig Stevens with negligent manslaughter. They also charged him with official misconduct. The trial was short. The video was the only evidence the jury needed. Stevens stood in the courtroom. He was weeping. He told the judge, "I didn't think the doctor was real." The judge looked down at him. "It wasn't your job to think," the judge said. "It was your job to serve." Stevens was sentenced to 3 years in prison. Dr. Torres received a portion of the settlement money, but wait until you hear what he did with it. He didn't buy a new car. He didn't go on vacation. He took every single penny of his share and donated it. He started a scholarship in the name of the boy who died. He wanted to make sure that name lived on. Money couldn't bring the boy back, but it ensured Stevens would never wear a badge again. Justice feels good, but it is also sad that it had to happen at all. After the sentencing, Dr. Torres spoke to the press. He stood on the courthouse steps. He looked tired. He admitted something personal. He said he almost quit medicine after that night. The guilt of being late was eating him alive. "A badge gives you authority," Dr. Torres said into the microphones. "It does not give you divinity. You do not get to decide who lives or dies to satisfy your ego." He had a message for other officers too. When someone says a life is at stake, believe them first, verify second. He thanked the nurses who fought to keep the boy alive while he was detained. He called them the real heroes. He ended with a powerful thought. I can repair a heart, he said, but I cannot repair a system that values a speeding ticket over a human life. This case changed him forever, but it also changed the law. Because of this tragedy, the state passed a new rule. It is called the TORS protocol. Now police must follow a strict rule. If a driver claims a medical emergency and shows ID, the officer cannot detain them. They must escort them to the hospital first. They can write the ticket after the patient is safe. It is a small change, but it will save lives. So let me ask you, do you think Officer Stevens deserved 3 years in prison, or was that too lenient? Do you trust that your local police would escort you to the ER, or would they detain you? Do we need a federal law protecting emergency responders when they are off duty? Because if we don't fix the problem of ego in policing, then we're just waiting for the next Stevens, the next Dr. Tors, and the next grieving family. Comment below if you believe emergency respo. Endayas should never be stopped. If you think stories like this matter, hit that subscribe button. We're going to keep exposing these stories. We're going to keep demanding better. This isn't just about one bad cop or one surgeon. It's about all of us. See you in the next one.